So today we have a very special episode of Shed Talk. It's episode 10, so I feel like we owe you guys a big one, and we definitely have a big one. Oh fuck, man, that sounds wrong as shit.
We definitely have a big
Sounds like we
one.
are doing the porno.
Oh my days. Oh man, if it's your first time watching or listening, I go by the name of Harris. To my right I have
Ryan, hi.
to my left I have
Jamal,
and to my other left I actually have our first ever guest for Shed Talk. He is christening the set with his presence, and yeah, our first ever guest goes by the name of
Michael.
Hey, round of applause everyone for Michael. So how are you, Michael? How do you feel being in this prestigious couch right now?
I am.
on the couch, but
First of all, you put me in a chair by myself. I am super excited to be the first guest on Shed Talk.
Nice.
I've listened and watched every single one of the episodes. So
Thank you for the
see,
support.
if you're really a fan, right, we will put you on. We don't want you to listen to one episode and be like, oh, why don't you put me on? Michael's come week in, week out. He's giving us suggestions. That's why he's here. So
Yeah.
thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you. One of our
Thank you.
3 listeners. We feel grateful. Thank you, Michael.
Reoccurring listener.
Reoccurring listener. But yeah, we had dinner. How did you guys find Pakistani cuisine?
it was extremely tasty. I tell you what, better than restaurant food. I tell you
Damn,
that.
that's a big compliment. Shout out, mum, for that.
Yeah, shout
Yeah,
out.
shout out Harris's mom.
What is like? What is your like favorite cuisines, by the way?
Me,
Yeah.
I don't have a favorite cuisine. I just know what I don't like, and I don't really like Japanese that much.
You must have a favorite.
I don't think there's any like. I don't think you know what I mean. Like nothing
Yeah,
stands
like
out.
everything, right?
Yeah, like I enjoy like I love pasta when it's made right. I love like rice and like meat if it's made right as well.
Mm.
So it's for me, it's always just the preparation of that food. Like how well has it been made?
Yeah, it's like when I first have Italian food in Italy. That was a different experience. I'm not a fan normally, but
Yeah.
when you're in the country where it's made and it's
You
made
just-
right,
You feel the sauce.
yeah.
I love every type of cuisine, man. Like every single time. Burgers, chips, fish and chips, rice and peas. Everything, man. Nah, but honestly, street food is the best food as well. I don't like, as long as it's soul food and fills my soul.
Don't you feel scared of like buying food from like trucks and stuff?
No, not at all.
I always get like a bit of a heart attack because I'm
I
like
agree
tomorrow
with you.
I can just wake up and I can shit my pants and I do not know what the likelihood of that happening is.
No, I agree. I've been many places where I've thought twice, but I also agree with Ryan that actually it's some of the best food you have as well. But if you get over that initial fear, because they can look pretty dirty, but they taste so good.
It's weird that like fast food has become like a treat for us, don't you think?
Mm.
Like it's so weird that we've literally brought up like, oh, McDonald's is tasty, KFC is tasty. Imagine you raised your kid to thinking like carrots are tasty and stuff. Do you think it'll work?
Carrots
But
are
it's
tasty.
not though.
You're doing them right. You're not preparing them right, Jamal. Say.
I wasn't prepared right. I feel like carrots are nasty. man.
So yeah, anyways, our first guest, Harris. Like, so far we know is Michael, but can you just tell us a bit more about our first guest ever?
Why don't you?
Yeah, do you wanna? I'll do it, man. Don't worry.
Yeah, you do it. Then I'll just.
I'll be the hype man for today, and then Mike will just take it forward, you know. So, our first guest, like I mentioned already, he goes by the name of Michael. He is a director in a multi-billion-dollar company, and when I'm talking multi-billion, I'm talking top 5 in the FTSE 100 in terms of market capitalization. Baller. So we got a big dog right here. But if you know me personally, you can probably guess which company he works for. I met Michael during my industrial placement year, and we've had a lot of conversations throughout the year. We've stayed back pretty late. We've had a lot of deep conversations as well. I know a lot of you.
One time a podcast didn't happen because they were talking.
Wow.
He made me and Ryan wait outside his house for an hour while he was just. He told us he had this big project due in.
And we were talking about Shed Talk.
Yeah. How are we gonna improve it? That was it.
We were
It
talking
was
about the episode you were supposed to be doing.
But yeah, if you guys probably think that me, Ryan, and Jamal are deep, but trust me, Michael can take it to a whole new level. I know you guys haven't even experienced it yet. So that's one reason why he's on the podcast. I feel like another reason is throughout my placement year, you know, he's given me a lot of advice, a lot of support with my work, being a great role model in terms of like leadership and stuff. And I know a lot of the listeners are like looking for the first job. I know you're starting your first job soon, so you're probably interested in like career progression and stuff. So, and yeah, I feel like this podcast, we're going to go talk about career progression. We're going to have a discussion on like leadership. And me and Jamal already work for a company, so we have our own controversial opinions and topics that we would love Michael's input on. So yeah, once again, thank you for coming on this prestigious show. And yeah, we're privileged to have you as well.
Oh, I'm pretty to be here, honestly. Honestly.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So yeah, let's go straight into it.
Let's do it.
Why don't you?
I feel like everyone's just now staring at me.
Yeah, now's your time to
What's
shine.
the first hard question coming my way?
Now we start easy. We'll start like, tell us your story. It's like,
Wow. Easy,
Tell us
Harry.
everything.
tell us your DNA complex. No, I know, because we had lunch one time. Michael, he's told me his like background, where he grew up, how his parents didn't want to like do certain stuff, and I feel like he grew up very polar opposite to a lot of us, and I feel like that's a very interesting perspective that he can share. So let's start from there, where you grew up and all
Yeah,
that.
so we're actually having this conversation over dinner, over the nice dinner.
Come a
right?
bit closer to the
Yeah.
mic.
I'm closer now.
It's annoying, isn't it?
Pretty annoying. So actually, I'm from a pretty working class mining village up in the north of England. So I'm sure you'll be able to imagine what that was like, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. And what people want up there is a bit different from, I guess, what you guys have discussed actually on your podcast. So your first one about the education system, really intriguing, right? Because actually, where I was from, it was more about do your education, yes, but then as soon as you can get out of it, get a job, so you can just kind of settle down and have a happy life, right? And people still do that. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, right? But that wasn't for me.
Was it just like a natural thing, or was it you always like? Do you remember a certain point in your life you're like, no, I don't want to live this life, or do I want to like achieve something more?
So I've actually thought about that, and I can't remember when it was.
Really?
I think I've always had it where I've wanted to do more than what I've been doing. But my family weren't like that. Most of my family, anyway. Very supportive though. I had a very big family, a very close big family, with my cousins. I grew up with my cousins and my auntie and uncles and all them. But they just wanted different things from life. So actually, when it came to choices, even doing my A levels, that was a thing that my grandma didn't argue with me not to do. Same
She-
with
that's
Wait, she was arguing you
Yeah,
not
yeah.
to stay in school, like
yeah.
to get an education.
Yeah, and imagine then having that conversation, then telling her I'm going to do a degree. So I was the first. I was the first person on my mother's side to do a degree.
Okay.
And when you were at school, were teachers pushing you to do A levels?
Definitely not.
Really?
I wasn't the best behaved child.
I think that was a bit of all of us.
So yeah, when I listened to you guys, I definitely felt there's a bit of me there as well. Yeah. So my grades at secondary school were pretty bad.
Yeah.
And actually my A levels were probably just as bad. I never really got into education and really get my head knuckled down until degree. And that's only because I could actually realise what it could do. I guess the thing I didn't know until I was really 19, 20 was what you could do in the world. I only knew the little bit where I was from, very kind of close place. So I didn't really know what you could really do and what careers you could do. And when I learned that, that's when I realised actually I'm going to push to do some stuff.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of did my BSc. Obviously my family got on board eventually. But every single time I made a big decision about education, so A levels, BSc, then PhD, I had the same conversation over and over again. Why aren't you just getting a job, right? You've done this. So actually when I finished my PhD, there's nothing really left. They were happy that my family were happy getting them. All they ever wanted me to do was get a job. And
But so with so many people like going against what you wanted to do, did you have like how did you tackle those doubts? Did you have any doubts at the time, like saying is education?
that's the way you think. Like,
You
right?
must be pretty like, you
I-
must have some self-confidence, some ego about you to think that. You get me?
So honestly, the conversations in my grandma's house, probably similar to this in here, right? I used to sit and have pretty deep conversations with my grandma
Yeah.
about why I'm doing it and why I'm not. But I can't never remember having doubts.
Oh.
So I had to take a year out before I went to university just to be able to afford it. And that really solidified my mind that because I basically worked in a warehouse and I was, packing lorries with fridges and for Electrolux actually, right? that job you can know what I do. I mean, it was great. I had a great time, right? Great laugh, but I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I've seen people who would work there for 30, 35 years, and that's fine for them, but it wasn't for me. And I was like, this is definitely not what I want to do. So that's really spring me forward to say, right, I'm definitely going to do my degree and push on.
Yeah.
I actually have a quick. I feel like in the generations, like there was a generation where people were not happy in like whatever place in life they were, and they were always striving to like be better. And then they get to that position now where it's like people are very much just happy to have enough money for their rent, their food, and their beers on the weekend, and then they'll be completely happy and live that life for the rest of their life. What do you think is a difference in mindset for those two people? Like what?
So for
'Cause
me,
I feel like you would have seen it from your area.
yeah,
like,
and
compared to you
and
and,
I have, but
compared to like other people.
to put a finger on really what drives them people, I don't know what it is. I think comfort, obviously, for the people who literally just want to settle down and have enough to live. There's nothing, like I said, there's nothing at all wrong with that. If that's what they want to do. I know for me personally why I didn't want to do that is because actually I saw what was out there and I thought, well, I can try and make a difference doing something else. And I'd already tried kind of that way of life, and it really wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And it's not easy though, right? Because it meant moving away. And like I say, I was really close to my family and all my aunties and uncles and cousins, and I'm not as close now. But that's kind of a life choice I had to make to do something different.
What about like women in your life? What about like getting a wife at that age? Like, was that important as well? Because that's a lot of stress on people, like our generation's lives as well. Like people want, I don't know, from our background and stuff, like they want you to get a job and get a wife as well. On top of that, how was that for you? Was
I
it?
feel like that's when the conversation the moment like you finish uni, I feel like everyone start looking at you.
Yeah,
Like,
but they
oh,
might- because-
like you can start getting married now.
Yeah, so
Obviously, they wanted him to have a job early, so they might have wanted him to have a wife early.
yeah,
as
so
well,
it's,
like,
it's all about getting a job, finding a wife, having kids, settling down, right? And then I guess for the older generation, especially the generation who just come after the war, right, which is where my grandma was, that she just knows that I'm going to be okay, and then she can kind of die happy, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, she saw me finish my PhD and get where I am, so hopefully she was happy by the time she did leave us. But to be honest, along the way, I was kind of proving her wrong because I had that many conversations with her about why I shouldn't do that. But when it came to wives and things, I guess maybe me personally, I've seen other families where I've grown up really trying to push that, but really no one could tell me what to do. So
Big man.
boss mentality.
So if someone told me to find a wife, I'd probably do the opposite, right? But I'll find one. But no, I would just do what I want to do and nothing else. And I guess that's to get to Ryan's kind of second question. That's kind of why I just did what I did. Is I knew I wanted to do it, and no one could really change my mind, and I never really had any doubts. I didn't know where I was going or really the end point, but I knew it's something I really want to do.
So even throughout university and your PhD, you said that you did. You felt like you didn't really know where you were going to. You were just like going through the motion, basically.
Not the motions. I knew I enjoyed what I was doing, but I didn't know what you could do with it, right? And actually, I think getting into a company early, like you have, Harris, right, and like you have, Jamal, and you will, Ryan. But even knowing people who got there, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you'd asked me what kind of jobs you can do with the qualifications I got, you would have got a very small list, even when I was doing my PhD. When actually the reality is something completely different, right?
100%. I thought the same when I saw like chemists and blah 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 where we were working. Physicists. I was like, obviously the way we grew up was like if you Google like top paying jobs, you don't see like physicists, chemists, blah blah blah. But when you go into the actual working field, you realize, whoa, there's so many jobs for all these people you just don't know about.
Yeah, exactly. Once you know, you can see what's
Yeah.
going to work for me, right? And then make your way towards that.
Yeah, honestly, because I'm doing a physics degree right now, and every time I said I do a physics degree, people are like, what jobs can you do with that? But I think that's a wrong attitude to have. Like master whatever you're good at first, and then when you become good at that, opportunities will come to you. And I really truly believe that. So right now, I didn't know what I was going to do at the end of university, but now I know exactly what I know I'm going to do at the end of university, and like I'm in a really good position right now. But before that, I did have doubts. I was like, okay, maybe I should do like an engineering degree or anything like specific like that.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with like the direction I took, and it's just as long as you put the effort into whatever you're doing, like 100%, something good will come out of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the reason people said why you're doing it is because they don't understand what you can do with it either, right? That's the truth. That's the kind of comments I used to get about doing any degree. But especially I did a chemistry degree, and chemistry think well, he's going to work in the lab. I mean, that couldn't be further from the truth when you look at multi-billion-dollar companies and what people with them qualifications do, and people that do the same jobs I do are also physicists, are also engineers, right? I mean, it's basically a grounding for whatever comes next, and so that's what education is, right? It's a grounding to say, well, we'll teach you the basics, but that is literally the foundation for then what you're going to do in your career and in society.
Do you believe that nowadays is less about what degree you've done, but more of what transferable skills you get from that degree? Because back then there was like, you do medicine, you become a doctor. You do engineering, you become an engineer. You do maths or finance, whatever, you become a banker, right? Like, but nowadays, especially in like my graduate cohort, there's like 3 times
giving a hug.
exactly. But there's a few of them who've like just done nothing compared to maths or finance, but they're doing exceptionally well there as well. So there's people like doing geography, history, and they're like working in a bank.
No, I think you're totally right. I think there's a lot of things in a lot of degrees which are transferable skills, right? Especially for a lot of the jobs that people would be going for after the degree. I completely agree. I think some things, like doctors, you have to do that degree, right? But even now in the finance sector, right? I think it was Goldman Sachs who, it was Ernst & Young, who do tax returns and stuff, who actually took off a degree off the graduate program, right? Because they realised that actually you can get transferable skills from other things, and these when they hire 2 cohorts, it's not a difference.
So do you see like that gradual shift now coming from, get a degree, get a job, to more routes down to wherever you've ended up right now? Would you, if you didn't get a degree, do you think you could have ended up where you are right now, or back then would it have been very difficult to get where you are, and then maybe today?
I think it's a stepping stone, right?
Yeah.
I think in a way you play the system, so it might be changing now to Jamal's point, but especially back when I did it, you needed them degrees to get jobs, and then could I do my job without my degree? Probably not, but I don't need as much as you'd imagine, right? So could I do it for BSc? Yes, right. Could I do it if you were a very good person who just done A levels but understood it pretty well? Yes, right. So, but to get certain jobs, back in the old days, you need to get them, but that might change going forward. So I think it's about individuals really, but obviously companies have the issue of how do you kind of measure that, right? And that's why they have certain things that you need a degree. It's to try to just narrow down people who could be good for the job. Doesn't mean that there isn't somebody in another cohort of people who haven't hit that level, which can do it because they can. And there's examples of that all over the world, right? I mean, Steve Jobs didn't finish college, right? I mean, that's all you really need to know, right? But that's an easy example because he went on to be a multi-billionaire, but they all over the place be having very successful careers, but you wouldn't have heard of them.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people do say that as well, like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. They dropped out of college, but
Mark Zuckerberg.
They were those
but they were at college.
They dropped out of one of the best colleges.
The best colleges in the world.
They were very.
Let's not forget top 3.
So they already had it.
Just decided the money was more important.
And that's why I don't like the example. I know I used it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the one that'll resonate with people. But actually, I think the good example, the one I just kind of mentioned, Ernst & Young, right?
Yeah.
Who they did an interesting experiment where they've hired people with degrees and without degrees, and they looked at them 3 years later, and then based that study showed there's no difference in performance. So they've took it off their entry requirements, and I think that can be true of any industry really, as long as you've got a foundation of that, of the skill you need in that.
Yeah. So oh wait, you wanna go?
No, go for it.
All right.
Ryan, you're talking so much. I don't want to stop you today.
I've never heard Harris not talk as much.
I was already asked all these
I
questions.
already know the story, so I was like...
So to bring up, like, you're in a leadership position. You're in a leadership position right now. And along the way, what skills would you say that you picked up and helped you get to where you are right now? Because I know a lot of people are interested in becoming getting high up in companies, but they don't know exactly how to do that. So.
Yeah.
And may I just add that he got into that position 6-7 years out of university.
Really?
Yeah. So he reached a pretty high position pretty
Yeah.
quickly. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. So
Yeah. You kind of picked me up there.
As your proper.
make sure you deliver now.
No, and honestly, so in that 7 years, actually, so I actually was on a graduate program too, like you Jamal, and I really selected roles. I had the choice really to select roles, which I think would help develop me, and more technically at first. So the first few years of my career, I was really like, how do I hone my technical skills and understand what's going on in a company? And then after that, it was really about how do I then use them to deliver things for the company. And honestly, the biggest things I developed to end up in a leadership position is actually the skills which are harder, which are the stakeholder management skills and the matrix management skills.
Okay.
Ones where you don't have direct influence over somebody, but you've got to get them to do something for you.
And direct information, because obviously with technical you can find the information, but when you're still talking to a stakeholder, you don't really have any information or resource to look at. You kind of have to do it yourself. So
and even explaining to stakeholders what the hell you're talking about. That's a skill you need.
Yeah, that's a very one of the main skills that you need nowadays, explaining complex things, because things are becoming so much more complicated
Totally agree.
to in a simple way that people understand very easily.
And that's one I would say, not to blow my own trumpet, I'm pretty good at. And that has helped me throughout my career. But then really delivering through other people without having influence with them is one thing I learned a lot by doing a lot of projects. But really, I'm a really authentic person, I think, at work. And I tried to build relationships with people on that authenticity, really. And that's really, I guess, got me where I am. I can't say there's like a plan which got me there. It's just I ended up where I was just because of the way I really worked.
So what would you say? Just, I know you probably can't say, but do you think you should be more technical at a workplace, or do you think you should develop on those skills instead? What do you think?
That's like a podcast in itself. I mean, it's a big conversation that happens in a lot of companies, right? And companies do it in different ways. So some science-led companies, so let's talk about science, right? Because that's my area. Some will have a technical ladder, for example, and some will have a kind of business strategy ladder or leadership ladder. And you can go as to the high end of the company just by being completely technical and not really being a leader, but being a technical leader.
Yeah.
Some companies don't, right? Some companies just have really leaders who have to do a bit of both. And there's no right or wrong. But if that company's not working for you, you need to find one that does. So if you're a technical person who doesn't really want people leadership, but you really want technical leadership, you've got to find a company who does that for you. But if you want a bit of both, you find a company who does that. If you want one who just wants, they actually don't do anything technical, they just do some strategy and business leadership, then you do. It's all about finding something that fits for you, because there's companies out there that do everything, right? And there's no right or wrong. There's lots of science behind it, but that changes quite rapidly over a few years. And you'll see companies adapting different things, but it's quite a difficult one, because obviously you get people who really are very technical. And if they're in a company where there isn't a technical position, or they get to a point where they've hit a kind of glass ceiling, how do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them performing is a very difficult thing to do, especially if there isn't any kind of technical ladder for them. So it's a big thing that the companies and I guess HR departments in these companies really, really struggle with. So to your question, which is best, or which you say to do, whatever makes you happy, man.
I'll rephrase it. What about, how would you be able to get these skills out and show everyone? Because of course, someone might be the most technical person in the whole company, but he might not be able to make it visible to everyone else, because everyone else might have a different perception.
Yeah.
So how do you think you were able to let people know that you're good at speaking to people, you're also technical and blah, blah, blah? How were you able to do that?
It's about, for my experience, it's about finding things and making a difference to them, right? So we all work in companies, we all go to universities, right, where there's processes in place, and we all can say on probably a daily basis, you can find 5-10 things that actually you can do differently, right? But the truth is, 90% of people will just continue to work through that process, right? So what I've done and consciously done is, if I find something that I think will really make a difference, I'll work on it. And if you deliver them to the company, they have a bigger impact than you just delivering, say, a project or something in the current process. Yeah. About redefining the process so it's more lean and better is where you make a big impact.
So you basically make life easier, basically, in a whole.
Yeah, but there's another side to that. That if some people do that for a living, right? They just literally just do process changes and they make things more complicated, but they think they're making it better. So you need to be kind of self-aware. So it's about selecting the right thing, right? So it's not going in there and saying, well, I'm just going to be the person who finds something wrong and says every day. It's finding something that is meaningfully wrong. And then kind of fixing that wrong, but could be better.
How do you kind of put that forward once you have it? Because you can be, and I also feel like I hear this quite a lot from quite senior people being like, "Oh, find somewhere where you can add value," and I'm
sure
like,
you do.
That's all
Being there,
great, yeah. And you're just really sitting there like, cool, but where? Like, I'm looking at this whole system. Overall, I might not like it, but where specifically? Like, how do you know where to focus on or where to find that?
Yeah.
If you know what I'm talking, like, I don't know if I explained the question.
No, you did. Yeah. So I think it's basically I'm telling you to do something, but you can't. You're saying, where do I find them, right?
Yeah. Like
basically, and honestly, I can tell you the way I did it. So the kind of things I did early on in my career were kind of technical things, but I think even if they're not technical things, you could do it in a similar way. So what I did is, and I know it's kind of overused kind of buzzword, but it's all about networking, right? And when I say networking, it's about speaking to as many people as you can, but asking them questions about their job, and then saying, well, what are their pinch points, right? And what do they wish could be different? Because actually there'll be a lot of things out there, and then you go, well, actually, what can I do to fix that? And that's exactly what I did. So it's about really talking to more people and sometimes asking probing questions to them, right? Start off building relationships, starting with a coffee, but then saying, well, what do you do in your job and what makes it difficult? What would you fix if you got? And just building a list in your head and mentally going, well, how can I help fix one of them? And then just doing it. And the thing is, a lot of people ask for permission to do them things. Just do them.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I feel like a lot of people have a I feel like a lot of people have a misconception about networking. They think it's literally knowing the people and becoming friends with them, but it's literally like what
Yeah.
you said,
Just
like
understanding them.
understanding them and actually listening to what their problems are and their issues are. And I feel like I don't and just maybe just to add on it as well, I feel like maybe like take a bit off everyone as well. And if you can just provide advice and like you said to theirs and everything, you're like you literally just naturally progress. And if you have an issue yourself, you might be able to find it in like 10 other departments, and then you can use them as a like a help or
And
something.
that's the thing, right? I can't do my job without hundreds of other people.
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And they can't do their job without me. So it's about talking to them and really just understanding their job, right? And having a bit of empathy for their job, right? Their key performance indicators or what they are measured on, how good they do the job, are different from mine. But if you understand them, and you kind of start to understand the matrix of what that looks like in your own head and understand your own organization, you can go, where can I make an impact, right? What's the biggest thing? It's not easy though, right? Otherwise everyone would do it, right? But that's how you got to do it. You just got to try to work it out.
And so you said that you got like hundreds of people, like, or hundreds, working like for projects that you manage. Do you ever like find dealing with all those people stressful? Like, how do you manage with the stress of maybe that person's got that problem, that person's got that problem, and just dealing with all those constant people coming up to you, looking for advice and being that person that they come up to?
So
Have you ever like been overwhelmed with all of
yeah, I mean, I've
responsibility?
been overwhelmed many times,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to sit and be like, look, everything's easy, 'cause it isn't, right? And actually, one of the hardest bits of we're getting into people management now, right? Which is I guess the hundreds of people were the people management and other stakeholders as well, right? I'm talking about. But the teams I've had, and people management is very different from any strategic management or technical management, and it really is about what you're just talking about, right? People coming with issues or people coming to talk to you a lot, right? That is quite overwhelming when there's a lot of people, especially if something's big's happening, or something in individual life or actually for the whole team. It is difficult. How you get through it? I mean, I think it's just your personality, right? Some people are people managers or they're not, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I think, in my opinion, I think there's too many people who are people managers who shouldn't be people managers, right?
Really?
I agree. Strongly.
And that's because
And why is that? Sorry, like what type of
This is
qualities
like-
are you seeing that you believe that they shouldn't be managing people?
So it's kind of back to the technical piece, right? I think people think to progress, they need to be in today's society. You need to be managing people, and they maybe aren't the right kind of temperament to manage people, right? The excellent technical people or the excellent working solo on projects or working in small groups where they have with peers, but managing people is a very, very different thing. It's a very stressful thing actually, and I hadn't really experienced this till a couple of years ago. But a very, very steep learning curve. You've really got people's lives, well, the working life, which is a big part of the life, in your hands. That's why I always make it my mission to make sure I'm developing the people that I have kind of direct leadership with, to make sure that they're doing what they want to do, right? Not what they think they should be doing.
When you were like, so I assume you were trained on how to like, you got some initial training how to become a leader. Was that did that yourself come from you, or did it come from a training that you received?
So I had many trainings, right?
Yeah.
My honest opinion on training like that, I
Yeah.
mean, I think you learn a lot in that time, and how much you keep subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of, it's your personality, right? And it's
Yeah.
and how you develop through your life and the kind of person you are, right? So if you're the kind of person who is an extreme introvert who just want to talk to somebody,
Mhm.
right? How are you going to be a people manager,
Yeah.
right? And if you're an extreme extrovert who can only think about themselves, right? then how can you be a people manager, right?
Yeah.
So I think we've all had these kind of 16 personalities, and I think probably only 8 of them should really be managing people, right? To get the best out of the people. I'm not saying an extreme extrovert or extreme introvert can't. They can. But if you're talking about you want the best performance out of people, you want to be developing better, you want people to be happy, then I think you need people who can do that well.
Can I ask a personal question?
Always. Doesn't mean I'll answer.
So, your first day that you find out that you're a director, I'm assuming you're pretty young at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah, I was youngish.
So, how did it feel like knowing that you've achieved something that you probably have been working for a couple of
Yeah.
years? Like, especially me, like I've come into the bank right now as a graduate, but I'm already thinking, yeah, I'm trying to be a director at some
Yeah.
point. I don't know where or at what company, but that's my goal for now, like my
Yeah.
short-term goal for now. So how did you feel once you've like achieved it?
it's crazy, right? Because it's like you get a lot of feelings in 1 second. So you get this the feeling of, okay, I've achieved something, but then you get the overwhelming feeling of I've got to deliver that thing, and you think, well, what's next, right? It's amazing the human mind immediately goes to, in my opinion, what's next.
Yeah.
Actually, I was listening to the Open Doors, right? And you talked about how much money you would be till you're happy. I don't think money makes you happy, right? But I don't think any amount of money ever makes anyone happy, because once you've earned a certain amount, you're like, I want to earn more. And I think it's the same with a job, right?
Yeah.
So when I got to direct level, I was like, okay, this is great, and I'm going to deliver it, and I'm going to do the best I can. But what can I develop now to do the next thing, right? So you just immediately start thinking about the next thing, because I want to make a bigger impact, right?
Yeah.
So it's about doing the next thing. That's not the same for everybody, right? People get in a job, so if somebody doesn't want to be a director, they get to the level they want to be, and go, I'm happy doing this now, right? This is my being. But for people like you who are trying to push yourself, and I guess like me, you immediately think, well, what can I develop to keep going, right? It's never ending, right?
I thought life was gonna be easier, man. I thought I was gonna get to a level, be like, yeah,
I'd love to tell you that once you get there, you go, right, I'm chilled, and I'm sure at a certain age, right? If I get a bit older, I'd be like, okay, I'm all right now, right? And I'm sure that happens, but where I'm at now, I'm not relaxed, even though I've probably got what I set out to achieve initially. I'm ready for more still.
Do you feel like as you've progressed, you've like enjoyed working more? Like because I see people like when they talk to me about like their entry level when they were AVP or VP, for example, it was very different, the work ethic, compared to when they became like a director. Because apparently for most of them, once they become a director, they go from doing 9 to 5 to start coming in at like 7 or 7:30 and like leaving later. So did you feel like you had a complete change in your working hours as well?
No, because I'm a pretty strong individual, right? So I would never do that. And actually, I'm lucky enough that where I work, they've got a pretty strong work-life balance, right?
Yeah.
Even at them levels. So I'm a firm believer if you can't do your job and have a decent life, a decent time of life, like, so basically, if you can't do a job in 8 hours a day, you're not doing it properly, right? If you're not doing it, when I mean that, I mean there's too much for you, so you need to give somebody else, right? And that should be the same for every level of the organisation, in my opinion, and you should set an example from the top down. I would hate to feel that if I went to work at 7, if I had to. I mean, if I had to, I would, right? At certain days, I would leave earlier. But I'd hate to see me going at 7, leave at 7, then people in my team think they had to do the same thing, right? I would really hate for that to be the case. So I think you have to lead by example and show that actually you need to have that right work-life balance. You've got to work hard when you're there, but it's about having that balance. So for me, it didn't happen. I guess what you're saying, I'm saying that you've seen that experience. I'm sure Harris can tell you that I'm not in there at 7 in the morning. I'm not there at 7 at night.
But I feel like my whole life I felt the same. It was like I feel like there's a big misconception of who works hard and who doesn't work hard, if that makes sense. So if you see someone late in the office at 7:30 and they have all their sheets everywhere, you're like, oh, you know what, they're working hard, good for them. But they just didn't work smart.
Yeah.
So my whole life, I'm literally, and I clocked as a kid, like, working smart has always been way better than working hard. And like you said, if you can't do your job in 8 hours, I'd even go far to say as 4 hours, because you can really concentrate in 4 hours and get a lot of stuff done. And then other stuff, you should be concentrating, like you said, networking, people skills. Like me, as a placement student, obviously I would get my work done, but then I'll spend most of the hours talking to other departments, even like you said, like helping other people and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that's the best way to progress. And I don't know. But I don't like how do you feel about the whole misconception of working hard and working smart? Because I'm sure people look at you and be like, oh, he's not doing anything.
I've had it all my life.
That's what I'm saying,
even in my PhD, right? So I used to have people in the lab who would work 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they'd see me work maybe 6. And they'd be like, how are you doing it? It's because I was working smart, right?
Yeah.
I'd spend more time designing an experiment than running it. But other people do trial and error experiments, right? And so I guess it's just been a natural thing I've had, and I've continued through. But it's hard though, right? So if you have a boss or you're in a team where that's not the culture.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough that most of the teams and bosses I've had have a similar mindset to me. But even when they didn't, I'm pretty headstrong. I'll just do what I want, right? If I think it's right. I have a thing, the red face test, right? So for me, I've got a good rationale behind it. So if someone doesn't get it, I'll explain it. If they don't like it, then kind of tough, right?
Yeah.
That's what works for me. And if it doesn't work, and if they don't want me in the company, I'll move, right? You've got to do what makes you. You have to have some integrity in yourself, right?
Yeah.
And about your beliefs. And if you're not getting that in the job you're at, you've just got to find someone who will give you that integrity back.
I feel like with graduates or like younger people coming into the workforce nowadays, at least, they believe in this thing called FaceTime. I don't know if you've heard of that terminology, but like initially when I was like in my first rotation, FaceTime was not a thing. Like I would come in whatever time I wanted, leave whatever time I wanted. No, within limits.
reason, yeah.
Within reason, which was completely fine. And I was allowed to work from home on specific days, which I could choose like within that week whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
And I felt like I feel like I cannot be speaking to the mic any more than I am right now.
Put it here.
All right.
No, like you can turn it.
But I want to. Right now, I'm just gonna be facing literally the wall, and
Have the microphone there. It's that easy.
But anyway, so I feel like, but then I would always see graduates, even when I was in digital, like just staying for a ridiculous amount of time. Now that I've moved, I see it even more because of the department I'm in right now is more like old school, old fashioned. It hasn't really caught up with the rest of the bank, which makes sense because it's a very different proposition to what the rest of the bank does. But these graduates are coming in way earlier and leaving way later. And I'm always like, and it's always the same, like it's people in the same area. And I'm always coming in at 9, and these guys would have been at like 8:30. And I'm leaving at 5. These guys are gonna stay till 6:30.
Yeah.
And the corner that I'm in is full of managing directors and directors. Like everyone there is very, very senior.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I walk in and I walk out. I'm like the last graduate coming in and the first graduate leaving every day. But in my mindset, I'm very strong in believing.
Do it proud.
A lot
man.
of these guys are just staying for the fact that their manager is also here and they don't want to leave. And
So let your work talk for you, right?
Yeah.
And just do it proud. So there's a thing that I do as a leader in my team, right? Is that even if I need to do work, so I'll do work at home sometimes, right? I mean, if I need to do it, I'll do it, right? So if you need to work 60-hour week one week and a 21 the next, right? Why not, right? As long as if that's what's required. But I'll leave work early, and Harris can tell you this, right? Most of the time on purpose, right? And it's more of a message to people that, look, you don't have to be here, and I'm not going to. So the opposite to what you've got, right? So, but there's a culture thing there, right? But just, I guess the only hope could be, if that's the way you are, that there's somebody in one of them managing directors who feels the same way as you do, right? And sees that. It's maybe a smaller pool, right?
yeah,
But there are companies out there, so when you get further down in your career, when you feel like you have a bit more choice, maybe you can find a one which fits you better, right? I mean, because if that one doesn't, then don't stick around, right? Get what you can out of it,
yeah.
and then
I
find
feel like
somewhere it
the
fits.
company overall is perfect. Like in terms of like they have this.
So maybe
whole
help change
dynamic
that
working.
culture. That's one of the
I
things
feel
you
like
can
it's
do.
just that specific department that has that's quite slow in the cultural change. I would say
Yeah.
because I feel like most banks nowadays are also heading towards that. Because I don't know if you've heard, like it was like a couple of years ago, an intern or a graduate died from one of the top 4 because he was just.
I imagine your area as well. I mean, it's pretty.
Kind of like it's people are like overworked
Yeah.
quite a lot in the finance department, especially in investment banking. So I feel like kids nowadays are just they see that and they're like, oh, if I want to make myself a director or anything, I have to work 60 hours a week every week for the rest of my life.
But it will catch up, right? As you say, you can see in other industries. I mean, and the industry I'm in wasn't always like it's similar, right? Maybe a decade ago, and it's no longer like that. So cultures do change, and maybe it's just one of the ones that changes last. So maybe there's that hope, right? And actually, as you're coming through and you're a graduate and you will have a leadership position one day, you might be one of the people who changed it, right? And just think about that way, like, this is why I'm here. This is why they employ graduates. This is what I'm here for. I'm going to be a future leader in this place. And what would you change? It sounds like the first thing you do is change the culture. Yeah, you don't have the power now, but you can definitely network and just start a conversation with people, and it spreads.
So when you first started the company as like entry level,
That was a great answer. I didn't say that without the mic there.
yeah. So do you see like a shift in the way leaders act now from like where you are now back 10 years or however long it was when you started your job? Do you see like a shift to how they operate?
Yeah, well, I mean, change is often slow, right?
Yeah.
But it happens. So if you look at it over 10-year period, so actually I've been in my current company 8 years actually, and I've seen a change in that time. A change for the better or worse. I mean, it really depends on what research you look at, right? But it's more now what people call modern employment, right? It's about having a relationship with people and not a hierarchical organization. Whereas maybe 8 years ago it was still a bit like that, but it was already started to change, and it's slowly changing and even getting better, right? So adapting new things.
Do you 10 years down the line, can you see where it's heading towards?
It's an interesting thing, right? So just recently, actually someone asked me to think about what do you think work will be like in 10 years' time, right? I think you might have heard the same thing, Harris, right? Where it works. Someone was talking about that, about closing your eyes and saying, what do you think it's going to be like in 10
Yeah.
years' time when you get out your car? Or is it your car, right?
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got an
and what do you
autonomous
think it's going to be
vehicle?
like? Or you're just not going to go to work, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely going to change, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's all sorts available now, even in the
It's
research.
gonna, I think
right?
it's good. There's a lot more automation is going to happen, take place as well, which is going to free up a lot of time. So maybe, I don't know, cutting down even the work days to like 3 days a week.
So I think the 4-day week, my
Yeah.
own personal opinion,
Yeah.
is a great thing.
Yeah.
Right. So to Harris's point about doing things in 4 hours, I honestly believe that if you ask 95% of the population who do any job,
Mm.
right, and yeah, now I've done a factory job, right,
Mm.
where even everything's on time, so maybe not 95, maybe 90% of people, right, they could probably do their job in 4 days, not
Mm.
5, right. I know I certainly can, right.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
But I spend the other time developing other skills, right? But I think it would help productivity, and all the studies show that actually
Yeah.
where it's being trialed, and I know it's being pushed for now. The issue is service.
Is it a
service.
Scandinavian country running that?
Yeah,
as-
so
as a
Sweden
pilot
did
right
it.
now,
There's
yeah.
even
isn't it?
companies here, I think, that are
Yeah, some have done it. Yeah.
cutting down to.
And some are thinking of it, right?
Yeah.
I know that. So
But like even it's a weird comparison. But even in other parts of my life, so say if I'm at the gym, I've got 10 reps of 3 sets of 10 reps. If I know I have to do those 10 sets, I won't put as much effort in because I know I've hit that 10 sets. But then if I change like the way I think about the workout, if I do, I say I'm gonna get to failure, I end up pushing more than I would, and I'd push heavier as well. So it's
yeah.
just changing that mindset because people are saying I've got to do this 9 to 5, so they subconsciously, I think, put less effort into what they're working, so they don't actually achieve as much in the time. They don't use their time as well as they could have. So
yeah. It's a funny concept, right? Work hours, full stop, right?
it's not
I
even
mean,
like it's quite a modern concept of a 4-hour
I
work
think it was
week.
Henry Ford, right,
Yeah.
who did the 6-day a week. He
Yeah.
did. And that came down from 7 days, and only recently in Asia has it gone down to actually, I think 5. It was 6, maybe it's just gone up to 6 actually.
Yeah.
So it's still moving,
Mm.
and I think we're pretty ahead of the game here. It's a good all round, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the difficult thing is service jobs where you need more people, and small businesses who probably wouldn't be able to exist if they had to employ 1 or 2 more people to cover that extra 2
Yeah.
days. If they sort that out, it's better for the economy, it's better for productivity. It's definitely something that I think we should be looking at as a society, because get more people out doing things, right, and actually healthier, because you could go on
Yeah.
your weekends 3 days long,
Yeah.
you do more on it, right, you spend more on the economy.
It's,
It's a good all rounder.
would you agree? Like,
But go on.
sorry, do you want to go? So when it goes down to that, like it slowly progresses. What are your opinions like universal credit, like getting, I don't know, 20k a year, and then you can choose to work or not, or you can just choose to live like that life? Would you
Yeah.
do you think that's quite
Getting into deep
more
politics now,
yeah.
right? And that's been trialed too, right? Also in Sweden, actually.
Yeah.
There was a city which did universal credit where you basically get a roof over your head and you get enough to live, right?
Yeah.
And then anything else you get from a job. And it seemed to work, right?
Mm.
It's one extreme from another.
Mm.
I don't like looking around the world, even looking in my own country here, and seeing people who don't have a shelter over their head, right? If that's a way to solve it, why not?
Mm.
And I'll try different things,
Yeah.
right? I'm not scared to say, well, let's try something. I think that's what's wrong with the world. People don't try it,
Mm.
and because they don't want to go back on something. But let's try. It doesn't work. Try something else, right? Or go back
that's
to where we
what I
were.
always had like trouble understanding about. People are so scared of trying new
People
things.
say, sorry, again, saying sorry, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like it's weakness, but actually for me it's a strength. So if you
Mm.
can admit you tried something that didn't work, failing is good if you learn from it,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
If
Definitely.
failing's really bad
It's-
if you do it and you don't learn.
Or your like mindset towards that failure as well. How you take it's what you take
Exactly.
away
It's
from
all
it.
about mindset, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you guys.
I thought you were like loading.
No,
up
I'm
the
joking. I low-key do want to disagree.
Okay. Fair enough.
I don't know.
Do you actually want to disagree today?
Yeah, I'm obviously I'm opinionated.
Yeah.
So opinion. So, what are you doing it? What?
Take mine.
Okay.
'Cause I wanna.
So I feel
Back
like
you up.
I feel like I 100% agree with your mentality. Whatever. I share the exact same mentality, but we're gonna be realistic here. I feel like the world needs to run with a lot of sheep and a couple of shepherds. It's got to work like that. I know. My goal is exactly the same as yours. I want to go up a company and change the work culture. But I know specific things I want to change. But I know I do want my work culture to be basically a bit programmed, if that makes sense as well. Because you need some programming for something to work. It just has to be done. I don't feel like everyone can just act on their own mental behalf. Otherwise, you won't need a leader in the first place. If that makes sense. So
Yeah, and it's kind of how society is designed, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's back to your education piece, right? In your first ever podcast. For me, the education system is designed to make people who'll do jobs out in the current
Yeah,
society, right?
factory workers basically.
Right. Well, factory workers and the jobs we do. Right?
Yeah.
We've been designed by that system too, right?
Yeah.
That's not be fooled,
That's
right?
true. 8 to 4.
And of that, a lot of them, as you would describe as sheep, right? That's true, right? Because that's what certain countries have designed the system, because that's what they think they need to be prosperous.
Yeah.
I guess things will change, and it's about how do we change that. And again, I'm not saying like rapid overnight change, right? Because I do believe change is very slow. And actually, I think that's one of the issues in the world today, is that people expect change overnight, especially with social media and the way it is. But slow and continuous change towards improvement with little bumps in the road is where we've been for hundreds of years, right? If you compare us to 200 years ago and the quality of life, it's significantly better. You just need to keep that track and what's the best way, and that's really what politics is about. It's about arguing what's the best way to that track. And every politician, right, doesn't matter what side you're on, right, whether you believe in universal credit or you don't, they believe they're right, right? So that's what you got to remember when you're having a conversation with someone who disagrees. They genuinely believe they're right, and they might be, right? It's only an opinion. So you can't say you're wrong, I'm not going to listen to you. It literally is. They 100% believe they're right. It's like Theresa May when she was saying she wants to get out for Brexit. She believes she could do it, right?
Yeah.
Or she wouldn't have done it.
But I feel like that's a quality that every great leader needs. Me personally, I feel like that's one of the people managing and really believing in yourself is a massive quality. And
You can be wrong sometimes.
yeah,
right?
of course. But when, like you said, once you're wrong, you need to learn that as
that's the
opportunity. I hate egotistical people. Like when they're wrong, they think, oh, everything else is turning against them, and no one's understanding them. But sometimes you got to take a step back and think you might be wrong and just develop on that. And I feel like a lot of people are missing that. So all these people who want to become great leaders and blah blah blah, they never take that aspect into account as well. Like you might be wrong. It's not. You're not the perfect guy. Do you get me? You're always going to develop. Always. I feel like your whole life.
That's the issue with, not the issue, but one of the issues in our system and leaders in companies and in politics, right? Is that the people who become leaders, it's got to about the people who should be people leaders and the people who should be leaders are normally the wrong people, right?
Yeah.
So the people who kind of create power aren't the right people that have power, really. But the way our world works is they get it most of the time, right? But when you get someone who really isn't about the power, about something else, that's the people who can make the biggest difference.
That's
Yeah,
sorry.
Go on. No, I agree with you, but what do you think about, because the rest of the world doesn't believe with you, if that makes sense.
I know.
Because of course everyone's going to be thinking, oh, you're just chatting shit. This person's a leader because of look at the way they speak, the way that they come in at 8 a.m. They leave at this time. Like people respect that thing. Is I know you said you have to believe in yourself and show some integrity, but what if you're in an area where you can't really show integrity and you just believe that it's not right for you, and you just got to leave?
Honestly, that's what I think, right?
What if you wanted to become a president of a country and then it was not right for you?
So I think politics is different from a company, right? So you always have choice,
Yeah.
be it your country or not. But if you really want to make a difference in the country, you've got to keep going to the system, right? If it's a job, you can change it,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And I know it's easy and flippant for me to say because I know how difficult trust me, I know how difficult it is to get a job,
Yeah.
right? But honestly, there's no point doing a job which isn't developing you and you don't like. There's just no point,
I completely
right? Because you're
agree,
going to get
yeah.
nothing out of it. You might get some money for 2 or 3 years, but you're going to end up just sad, right? I'm not going to say depressed, but you might end up depressed as well, right? But there literally is no need in doing something you don't enjoy. You don't have long on this earth,
Yeah.
so you may as well be doing something that you actually like. Otherwise, what's the point, right? And I mean, you worked for a long time. I mean, I know I was just kidding with you guys, the interns the other day, right? I mean, the age you are, the average age of you guys is like 20, 21, right? You've got how long you've been alive and double that left to work, minimum, right? So every single day you've had in your life, to date, you've got to double that and work it, right?
Mm.
So if you're not doing something you enjoy, and then you've got a long time left,
long time
right?
left, yeah.
Right, a long time.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Sorry, no, I've completely forgotten now. But
Alright, so in terms of leadership, yeah, because obviously that's like one of my most like fascinating topics. Because I'm not gonna say that. Don't worry. No, don't worry.
From a different cloth to say it.
You think it's genetics?
No. That was literally my question. I was gonna.
I could see it.
No. I was literally gonna ask you. What do you think? Do you think anyone can become a leader? Do you genuinely believe that you are born a leader?
I don't necessarily think born. I think it's, as always, it's probably a mixture of nature and nurture. Which way is weighed the most? No idea, honestly. If I think about leaders that you see that week, so yeah, I think it's different, right? I don't look at like most of the leaders I look at, but politically anyway, I don't class as real leaders.
Yeah, I know.
right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
More dictators, even if it's in a democracy.
Yeah.
Even then they're more dictators because the way they get to the power. Whereas leaders in
Yeah,
companies,
shepherds and sheep, right? Because shepherds don't really develop the sheep; they just want them to follow. If that makes sense. So it's
Exactly, yeah,
them-
it
that
does make sense,
mentality,
yeah.
but you can, I don't know, to make a sheep really good if you're a good shepherd, like.
yeah, and that's when then they believe you're a good shepherd.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you're improving their lives, and that's the number one
Exactly,
job of
yeah,
politics,
yeah.
right? Your only job is to make sure that people's lives are better than they were before you start. If you haven't done that, you fail.
I feel like sometimes they're held back by actually having to be voted in every 5 years as well. So they've always
Yeah, you got to play the
so you're
game.
pro dictatorship now.
yeah,
I know what you're saying, though, right?
it should be like but I do feel like, sorry, just going back to leadership as well. Do you feel like people, when they become leaders, act differently in that role? Do they sometimes maybe not let their power get to their head, but change with respect to how much responsibility they're getting? And
I
maybe
think you can, right? And kind of all the things we discussed, because it's pressure and stress, right?
yeah,
If you've gone from, I don't know, running a project which is worth 20, 30 million to a company, right? That's a bit of pressure. But then if all of a sudden you go to running something which is worth $500 million and you screw up, or you feel like you're not going to hit something, or yeah, that's a lot of pressure to take as a human being, right? We're all just humans. So it can change in that sense, but also I guess where you're getting at is, does the power go to the head?
yeah,
It does, right? You see it happen to people.
yeah,
And again, I think that's just a sign that they weren't the right person for that job. They might look like they were, so they might have been the best at the level below, but the next job up actually wasn't right for them. And if you individually, all you can do there is say, well, what are my skills and what am I good at,
Yeah.
and is this company the right one to do it with? But if the company makes a mistake,
yeah,
in that case, it is a mistake.
yeah,
If you're in a good company, they'll rectify it pretty quickly, right? If not, then that person will be stuck in that position. And that person should realise, or someone should tell them, and they
that
should be big enough to go, actually, this isn't right, I should be doing something else which adds more value to this company
Mm.
than doing what I'm doing now, because
mm,
the people I'm working for don't like me, right?
yeah,
And if they don't like you, they're not going to perform, right? And
Yeah.
the company knows that. But it's a very interesting, it's a science, right? The HR and human resources, understanding teams and leaders is a massive science.
mm,
And there's going to be, at one time, in a good company, 80% correct, 20% not, right?
mm,
And if you are unfortunate to be in that 20%, you could tarnish the whole company with that. It doesn't mean they're not trying. And again, change is slow,
yeah,
because people's careers are long. So change is slow in them sense. But
Do you think like change can be made faster, but it's how it was for so long that people are like going back to the points we were saying earlier, scared to
yeah,
try new things?
Can I get my honest opinion
Yeah.
on that?
Okay.
For why I feel like change is so long. We all have a mentality, right? I feel like everyone has a mentality. Everyone does have this perfect mentality, but a lot of people don't do it. And even they're gonna say that, oh, I can't do it because of this and that. You really can do it if you want to do it, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So me personally, I feel like they were doers, and then they were just people who just dream.
yeah.
And I feel like even if it's such a small mentality, you got to act on it. You can't have a mentality without showing, if that makes sense.
And the majority of people are the non-doers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the people who are comfortable doing what the system tells them or the
Mm.
process tells them, and that can be very valuable to a company, right? Don't get me wrong, that it can be.
yeah.
But then that's just stifle change, because they're the majority of maybe the working population in a company, and you want to change. They're the people who don't like change as much, and
No, but I'm saying the people who do want change, most of them don't even do as well. I feel like that's the issue
yeah.
as well.
So
like,
of the 20%, only 1% actually drive change.
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, true, right?
Yeah,
Because
so-
it's that kind of herd mentality, right?
uh,
If it's because 80% actually don't. If 20% actually do have the skills and mindset to want change, but actually the 8% bring 15% of the other 20 down, right? Not
Yeah.
down, but to a similar level. And if that's happening to you, then again, find another job.
yeah, no, I agree with
Right?
that. I think it's really good advice.
I know it sounds easy, but
Just yeah. Have you got any, Jamal? I've got a couple more questions.
let's say it's really hot in here.
I know.
I feel like I'm being grilled.
It's like,
I
shall I open the
I
door?
thought it was me because of my bites on my leg. I thought I was having a fever or something. Open the door, because I'm dying right now.
Actually, I don't want to mention.
Mate, I kept looking back like, am I leaking for this
Wow.
camera? Like, I'm dying.
But I am.
Should we move on to another topic? We've got a few minutes left.
I got one just quick question,
Yeah?
just like some
I'm-
like not
I'm
fun
interest-
questions, but like just general
Yeah, that's what I was
questions.
thinking. Should we go on to that? Because I'm interested in your opinions on other stuff.
Yeah,
apart
I
from
was
the
just
game.
thinking, what do you like most about work culture, and what do you hate most about work culture?
What I like most actually is people. So seeing someone develop, I never realised actually until the last couple of years. Actually seeing people like you come in, right, even and then people even further on in their career, but seeing how people develop with my help, I haven't got a bigger kick than that yet.
Yeah, no, only
Even if you delivered a project which is millions, right, or you save millions for the company, seeing people progress and seeing a team come together and seeing a team working well is a pretty good thing.
But the thing is, I can genuinely vouch that he has done that in
Yeah.
terms of like presentations and stuff. Like, imagine your director just like spudding you beforehand, like, you got this, like
Yeah.
coming up after being like giving you feedback, but
Yeah.
also saying you did really well, blah blah blah. So everything's learning. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, other placement students, their managers don't really do that, and I feel
Yeah.
like I've been blessed like to have you as a
But,
like, manager.
but that's what I get a kick out of, right? So
Yeah.
that's my positive thing, and honestly, seeing people thrive.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think a leader's aim should be to make other leaders who are better than them.
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
Right. So when I look at you guys should come up and you should be 100 times better than me, right? If I've done my job as a leader,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right? Because we should be progressing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
by the time you're my age, you should be better than me, and I shouldn't be scared of that. I should be
Yeah.
excited about it, right? Because then I can go and do something else.
Change your job.
Just go and live in the woods or something. Right.
So your worst. What
Worst
don't you
thing
like?
is, it's back to the change thing, right?
Yeah.
I like change, so I like to make change things for the better, and frustrating when it happens slowly.
Yeah.
But as you can tell, I've come to an acceptance that it happens slowly.
Yeah,
So sometimes you've got to accept the environment you're in and the culture you're in.
I
But it
think
doesn't mean you don't stop trying to
Yeah.
change
yeah,
it.
yeah, I agree.
I think one reason why people are so scared of trying new things as well is because the way that people react when you do get things wrong, they jump on you straight away. Especially in this, like with Twitter and everything, people can
Yeah.
jump on a bandwagon and make something like very big out of something that might not even mean like much.
Yeah.
Like if you, especially with politicians as well, they might say the wrong thing here, then that's like maybe the end of their career. Obviously, in like some cases, actually like legit cause
Yeah.
for people to be outraged. But I feel people do get very outraged with a lot of little things that shouldn't be. Like it should be if a person reacts to that thing that they got wrong and then they show upon their actions further and like down the line from that they've changed from that,
Mm.
then people should like take a step back and see like, okay, yeah, this is part of a process of change.
We should, and to that point, I really do believe in celebrating failure.
Yeah.
Correct failure, right?
Yeah.
So if you've made it, if an individual or as a team, you've made a decision based on data or based on experience, and it doesn't work out, that's great, right?
Mm.
That is a good decision,
Yeah.
but it didn't work out, right? If you make decisions not based on data, right, and stuff like that, and it fails, that's a bad decision, right?
Mm.
And that shouldn't be celebrated, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make the right choices and celebrate the right things
Mm.
to get the culture right, so people feel it's okay to fail, as long as you with the information you had at the beginning, you did the best thing you could, right?
Yeah.
And I agree, even in the company I work for, sometimes that doesn't happen, right? And there isn't maybe a culture of people are worried, right? But it's my job to try and change that, especially
Yeah.
in my small little bit where I can do it, right? And hopefully that change will come through. And I think it's part of society and cultures moving on in workplaces to get that way, because in the future, if you're not testing and failing fast, then you're not going to be successful in this world because of Twitter and all that, the way how fast the world is out with that stuff anyway.
Let me ask you a question.
What we've been doing for the past hour.
What have these been? I feel like I'm on a job interview.
But like during my training, before I started working, there was like this same phrase that was repeated to us repeatedly, which was, "Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness."
Yeah, I agree with that.
I feel like you're someone that really agrees with that.
I do, 100%.
When in your career would you say is the biggest failure that you've had that you had to ask for like forgiveness, or not forgiveness in the sense of forgive me, but like kind of had to be like,
I made a mistake.
yeah, I made a mistake.
So I've made many mistakes, right? Many I can't really talk about on this podcast. I'll try and talk about
big man.
I'll try and talk about the biggest one without giving much away. But it was quite early on in my career where we did something which was against the company policy unknowingly, right? Because we wanted to do things faster, right? So you can see my kind of mentality. And it was a pretty big deal, actually. And when I found out, you did what you should do, right? And you should just go and ask for forgiveness and put things right. But I can't. I'm trying to emphasize how big a deal it was because it was. But I've got many of them, which I can't really go into details about for this audience. But that mentality of not ask, like do something then ask for forgiveness is the way you can do things quicker and the way you can do things. Because if you go and ask somebody, right, or can I go make this change, they're gonna go, well, I ain't doing this project, right? And do you have enough time? You know yourself whether you've got enough bandwidth to do something. Go and do it, and then say, look what I've done, right? I didn't need to ask you, I just did it because I know it's right. If they say, well, this is crap, Jamal, you can learn from that, right? Because you came from the right place, and you can say, well, why is it crap? What could I have done different? And then you develop into wherever the feedback comes from, right? And that is the same as just doing and asking forgiveness. You ask for forgiveness because I went away and did it, but then I've tried to make it better, right? that's what I've done my whole career. And I don't think I'll ever change doing that. I do it at home too. You can ask my wife. I'm always asking for forgiveness.
And so, do you think the capitalist culture is the best environment for businesses to grow? Because in capitalist society, like, the shareholders are at the forefront, so it's always about making profits. But that's sometimes not the best for, I don't know, what humanity needs or what people actually need. So
Yeah, I mean it's a great and deep question, right? Do I think it's right? The answer is I don't know.
yeah,
Right?
it's the best system like that's currently in the world right now, I think. But
Yeah, but it can be better, right? Like,
Yeah.
it can change,
everything,
right?
yeah,
So I think to your point about giving back, I mean companies try to, right? But obviously they do that to work out the right amount they should give back, so that the profit of the shareholders is there, but they get a good reputation
Yeah.
increase, right? So it's kind of calculated give
finding that
back, right?
balance.
I think at some point, the free market will allow that to happen more often, right? So I think we're in a stage now after World War II and then up until now with the technology boom, where actually companies have grown so fast that people expect extremely high returns,
Mm.
right? And I think that unless there's another revolution on the corner, or 5G or AI, right,
Yeah.
which there probably is, but it's starting to slow down now, right? But people still expect the same returns, and that puts companies in a difficult position, right? So that's why they start doing cost cutting stuff and they start doing things differently. And until the market comes to a point where they can say, okay, we only expect this percentage of profit from this type of company, we can get back to doing what they do best, right? But it's, the market corrects, but again, the market's pretty slow correcting
Yeah.
big things like that. I think it will eventually. Is there another system out
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
which could do that differently? Sure, right?
Mm.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've only ever tried two systems in the world, right? Capitalism, communism. Communism didn't work that well. Well, not well at all.
Yeah.
And capitalism has made people's lives better for some part of the population.
But
so
see,
it's
yeah.
not ideal, right?
So like communist society, they can see across the world that their way of living is well. The leaders there can see that their way of living is a lot worse than capitalist society, but they still don't change that. Do you think that's because they're inherently bad people? Like they're greedy people, so they don't want to change that system because it benefits them, or do they actually believe? Do you think that?
Well, and that's why I'm not saying communism or socialism anyway.
Yes, yeah.
Communism maybe not, but socialism can't work.
Yeah.
But it gets back to actually the conversation of leadership we've been having, right?
Yeah.
They actually, I think, the people who end up leading any kind of, even if it's just a local social,
Yeah.
like, so if you have a socialist council or you have groups that are social groups around neighborhoods, even in like here, right? People who end up leading them organizations end up being the people who are the downfall of them organizations.
Yeah.
That's because the leaders who end up leading them aren't the people who should be leading it, right?
Mm.
And it's back to the whole leadership
Yeah.
conversation, and it kind of spoils that system for everybody else.
Yeah.
Whereas capitalism is that's part of it, right? You're an individual. You want to make money. You want to do business. That's part of the whole system, and therefore
Yeah.
it's built into it. Therefore, it kind of works, right? I don't know if there's any intermediate there which works better.
What is capitalism for those who don't know what capitalism is?
What is capitalism?
Yeah.
Two words: free market. Right. So true capitalism, and which doesn't happen. I don't think it happens anywhere in the world. Actually, true capitalism is where everything is free to the market. So the belief that the market will correct itself.
Okay.
Right. So, but even in capitalist countries like England and the US, we have regulation. We have financial regulation. We have drug regulation. Right. That is the anti of capitalism. Right.
Yep.
Because actually, the theory would go that if you sold a drug, right, which then killed everybody, they'd all sue you,
Mm.
and therefore you wouldn't exist anymore. Right. The market's corrected it. Of course, there's a human cost of that. So we put regulation in to stop a human cost. For the right reasons.
Yeah.
But so then it becomes kind of a capitalist with regulation.
And you seem to be like, well, you obviously are a very knowledgeable person. Where do you get most of your...
Just seem to be.
It seems to be.
It's all an act.
Sorry, we gotta...
we just paid immigrants.
Yeah.
I've been studying for like a week.
So, what ways, like, where did you learn about all this? Did you listen to podcasts, read books, or...
So I'm a podcast listener.
Yeah?
No, so I guess as a kid, and even doing degree and PhD, really, I mean, the internet was around, so I started using the internet, but
Yeah.
talking to people mostly.
Yeah.
Finding people, so like I guess back to the conversation about how
Networking.
you find things that work. Finding people who know about things and talk to them, right?
Yeah.
Then you got to verify it. You know how it's getting on the facts, right? So
Fact checking.
and kind of so talk to people, but then more recently I got a lot more into watching YouTube videos about economics and books, and then now a lot of podcasts as well. So I listen to a variety of podcasts Shed Talk being one of them. I actually don't know what my commute would be like without a podcast anymore, right?
Really?
I mean, anytime I'm in a car, I've got to be listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just boring.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes I don't mind being stuck in traffic when there's a podcast on. But I'll learn. Havish can tell you this. A lot of my conversations go, so I was listening to a podcast. And it just gets me thinking, right? And then I'll go and research some of the stuff I hear, right? I think there's so much to learn
Yeah.
and so much to understand about the world. And there's so many experts out there. You just got to listen to them.
Mm.
But that's a problem now, right? Experts are looked on negatively at the minute. But there's so many out there and there's so much
Yeah.
stuff.
I feel like not even experts. I just feel like normal people you learn a lot from as well. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like that's the maddest thing that I realized in life. Because when I was growing up, I feel like all of us must have just been like, we thought we were better than everyone else. And if we would see someone in a specific position, we're like, they don't deserve to be in that position. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
But then if you actually speak to that person, understand like what made them so good for that stuff, then you're like, oh damn, like okay, I'm not all that. If that makes sense. And then you kind of learn from everyone, even if they're high or low. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. It's just like I feel like you can gain anything from everyone, which is like the beauty of this world, really and truly. Like
Yeah, it is the beauty, right? And it's that beauty that there's always somebody better than you.
always.
Right? And there's always somebody a lot worse off than you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you're going through. I mean, I've been through some stuff in my life which is pretty bad, but actually what gets you through it is there's going to be someone who's going through it worse
Yeah.
and they're getting through it, right?
Yeah.
It's the same as there's always somebody better than you. And if you strive to develop and do, honestly, I keep saying it, but do something that makes you happy, then it's easy, right? I know it's kind of a cliche, right? But finding what you enjoy and doing that is all that's really about. And if you do that, you'll be good at it.
So is there anything, do you feel like you could, if you were to redo your life, you think you would change your like degree, your career path? Is there anything that you
Yeah.
really feel like, you really feel like you properly enjoy that?
Yeah, so Harris knows I love planes, right? So actually a few things. So I love economics, actually now. Even to the point where I might go and study economics at some point later on.
Nice.
So I would maybe look at economics. Aeronautical engineer, maybe is
Oh,
one thing I'll go and
airplane.
look at actually. And actually, I'm from a farming family, so I actually sometimes have nostalgic feelings about just going out in the middle of nowhere and having a farm and chilling out. Probably a vegetable farm though. I can't be killing things. Not now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got enough
That's
time in your
comfort.
life to do that, I believe. Right? I know,
Hopefully,
like-
man. Yeah.
yeah.
You never know though, right? That's
Yeah.
why you've got to be doing something you enjoy now, because you never know when it's all up.
That's right.
Honestly.
I'm the opposite. I'm like, I don't really mind. I feel like I'm gonna live a long life, hopefully. But I just have that mentality that my life's gonna be
You
long.
need to.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not even that. It's just. It's not even that.
But
I feel like
even
you-
if you're genetically in your gunny, right, you could walk out there and a bus could hit you and
Yeah, 100%.
or someone could
100%.
hit you, right? You
100%.
got to enjoy. I mean, you do, right? So, but you got to keep enjoying.
But I
every
enjoyed
day.
the little things, even though it's not everything that I wanted. I feel like I can enjoy the little things on the way for that bigger picture in the end, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's just the mentality.
There's the
I
thing:
think.
will a bigger picture ever come, though, right? It's
Yeah.
like that thing of if you strive for something, and Ryan was saying this in your last open door. Right? If you strive for something, you always want more, and it's the same way if you're waiting for a bigger picture, you're always waiting for that to fall into place. You kind of just got to enjoy the moment, right? And it's actually, I'm saying it, and I'm not saying I do it, right? It's very, very hard for an individual person to live in the moment, to really
It
be in the
is.
moment. So I know what to say, I know how to try and do it, but do we all do it all the time? Definitely
Yeah.
not, right? We all think, and actually, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to have a good time at the weekend, or you're going to go on holiday or whatever, right? You're always waiting for that thing which you think is going to make you happy, when really you should be just looking for what makes you happy now.
It's constantly
hard, though.
reflecting. Yeah, it is.
I feel like just to kind of close it off, what do you think is your next step for you from here? Like in the next 10 years, where do you see yourself?
So for me, so
That's a very
I'm
interview question.
so I'm in research and development now, right? In consumer healthcare products. I like that area, because it's close to the end user, and actually it impacts people's lives. And I'm in a leadership position in our company, but there's more positions above it, right, where you have a bigger impact and you run a bigger strategy and you understand the whole business. So for me, I think, and something I often say to people who I manage, once you work out what you want to do, work out where you think you top out. Not from an ability bit, but from where you think that you're really where you want to go, right? So some people think, actually, I'll be really happy if I got to being a senior scientist, and that I'm really happy with my life there. Some people say they want to be director. Some people say they want to be CEO, right? Work out where you think you can generally go and where you want to go, and then just work out how to get there. And for me, that's something like the head of R&D for a whole company would be an ideal job for me, because I think it'd have the biggest impact, and I can drive a whole strategy across many different types of brands or products. So it's a long way off, but the way I do my development on that, just to share with you guys, is I look at people who have them roles now in different companies and say, well, what have they done, right? And I try and get a similar skill set. Yes, the world's changing, but if you get a similar skill set to them, you can't be in a bad place.
Well, I feel like you've done it from graduate to here, so it's going to be easier from. I'm assuming it will be easier from here to that.
Well, we'll
What-
hope so, right? Yeah. I mean, it changed, right? To my point about how long you guys have got left to work, I've got probably a similar length of time, right? I'm not that much older than you guys, right? I've still got 30 years left, so I can do another career, right?
Yeah.
So it's whatever happens in life, and see what happens. But again, as long as I'm doing something I enjoy, I don't care what it is.
Do you feel like it's gonna be, you can do as much hard work as you can for now anyway, but nothing will really change until that opportunity comes?
You know,
'Cause are you not like,
think
you
it
don't
can-
really believe in that
It can come.
mindset?
Yeah, it can come any time, right? I
Yeah.
mean, things can literally happen. I mean, my career, I've worked towards something, and it's come at probably the normal kind of time you've been doing something, and I've done something for 6 months, and then it's happened 2 years faster than it normally should, right? And and that's not anything to do with me. It's just the way things happen, and then the things just fall into place. You just got to be there to take the opportunities and be very clear that you want to take them and why you want to take them, right? I mean, I am always very clear with people who are managing my development what I want and why I want it, so that they can be very clear with whoever's managing theirs. So that, but then if someone says, "You want to come and do this?" and I say no, that's why you've got to be very, very clear that you really want that.
Yeah.
Because I've found if you ask for something, generally you'll get it eventually, but you've got to really want it. Because then if they ask for it, like you say, I want to go and live in South Africa, right? And they come along, I've got this great opportunity. I was only saying that because it sounded good, right? If you don't do that, then you look like you don't know what you need to do. So I think you just got to be really clear about what you want to do, and that's really hard to know, right? Especially at your guys' ages. I didn't really know. It's probably come over the last maybe 5 to 6 years where I really understood what I can do and what I want to do, and that was from learning from being inside an organisation. I didn't know that beforehand.
I mean, to be honest, I don't even know what I'm doing, and I've already done.
So I didn't at your age, right?
Yeah. So I'm just hoping that I'm gonna, somewhere through this graduate scheme, something is just gonna click.
You'll find something that you think I can do.
That's literally the hope for now, because I'm not 100% sure, because I might be even thinking 2 years into this, finance not actually for me, and I might want to do something else, but who knows at this point.
But the amount of transferable skills you'll have got, right? That's the thing.
Yeah,
you've got to use it to your advantage, whatever you want to do.
Definitely, and the big names as well. So I might as well just start.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it looks good on the CV. That's why. That's another thing as well.
CV's important, man.
But yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you again for coming.
Oh, thank
spending
you.
your
I've
time here.
enjoyed it.
Very
Can you end it with
interesting.
some energy, please, man?
Sorry, man.
This is the first ever. Yeah.
All right, look. Obviously, thank you for all your input today. But I actually want you to come back onto the podcast again, like maybe talk about something different.
Yeah, like an actual, because he does talk about a lot of
like-
I
Like,
think
does
that-
time exist?
Yeah, that's actually good.
do humans have free will? So
Yeah.
like,
That was the conversation we had when I was late for the other podcast.
Really.
there's some crazy ones.
All right, but yeah,
No, I'd
Thank
love
you.
to.
Yeah,
I'll come back anytime.
I like that.
all right.
Okay,
See you guys next week.
see you later, guys. See ya. Once again, like, comment, subscribe. You can find us on. Well, you already know where you're finding us because you listen to us. So
Yeah.
see you later.
Bye.